Hi, my name is Jim from Vertu Honda Bikes in Grantham. We're absolutely thrilled to have been chosen by Honda UK to build this bike for Wheels and Waves 2025. Passion behind the bike. It's the racing, it's the flat track racing. The British flat track scene's been a really big thing for me for 5-6 years. After I was introduced to it by some friends, I've met some lifelong friends and enemies racing. My son started racing 2 years ago, won the British Championship in his first year, so that was just the best day of my life. Okay. So we started out with a completely factory standard GB350, fresh out the crate. We were given a budget of £6,000 to modify the bike to take to the show. Of course, I immediately went to a flat track bike because it's what I know. I've got a lot of friends in the industry, bike builders, etc., that could help us with it as well for inspiration and some design ideas. First of all, the problem we found was nobody makes anything for a GB350 yet. You can't buy anything off the shelf. So we had to outsource. We had to go to local engineers, companies to fabricate, manufacture. There was a lot of scanning, 3D printing involved and a lot of R&D. I'm quite pleased to say some of the parts on this bike are actually going to go into production for these companies that have worked with us, which is really nice. So you saw it here first. The wheel set, first of all. We had the hubs machined from billet because nobody makes a hub. We had to send those off to a central wheel company, SM Pro, to have them laced to 19-inch rims, front and rear, which of course is the flat track setup. We've used a slightly wider rear rim because it's more of a road bike. It's a little bit wider than a lot of flat track bikes would be, so we needed to kind of stretch the tyre out a little bit just to fill the back end. From the front, we worked with a local engineer, DefCAD, who's actually a guy who I race with, who makes triple clamps, top and bottom there. They're all nicely machined, billet, handlebar clamps the same. One of the big problems we came up against was the footrest assembly. The thing was huge, it was massive, it was just unsightly. So again, the company came along, 3D scanned the original, played around with it in CAD a little bit, printed off a plastic 3D printed version so we could test fit it and then put it into production. So that's a really nice thing. You know, money can't buy stuff really. The exhaust system was very kindly made by a friend of mine, John Keeling, who owns RaceFit. I don't think he ever wants to make another one again because it was an absolute pain, and I don't think anyone would buy one because it was more than 50% of the cost of the bike in the first place. But it's really cool and it's there. Some of the other nice touches, Held Performance worked with us with a radial front brake master cylinder. It also has a really trick thumb brake as well. You don't really need it, but it's just cool, so it's there. A nice clutch perch as well on there. We had to rewire the whole bike. We had to take the whole loom out and strip it all back to get rid of anything we didn't need in order to remove the factory airbox that would normally sit in there. So normally your battery's housed in there, ECU, fuse board, there's all manner of gubbins going on in there. So we wanted to take all that out to give it this really clean, stripped back look. So that was quite challenging. It took an awful long time to work out what wires we do and don't need and kind of go through it from there. And then it had to have a great big red K&N on it, just because. The smallest thing that will mean nothing to anybody is the number 83, because that's my race number. And it's accidentally kind of on there because we took all the bodywork down to the painters and we said, look, we need this doing X, Y and Z. Here's a couple of ideas for colour schemes and patterns. These are the old Honda CB colours from the 70s, or shape from the 70s, should I say. We've played on the colours a little bit. And at the last minute he went, Jim, I need a number to put on it. And I was like, I don't know, I haven't even thought about it. And he goes, well, your lad's race number's 83 and your race number's 83, so we'll put that on it. And I was like, yeah, that's cool actually. One of the great things about using a GB350 to start with is not only the price point at just under £4,000 on the road, that makes it accessible, of course it does, but the fact that they're only 22 horsepower as well, so they're not intimidating to ride, although it looks like a bit of a beast. That rides like a normal GB350. If you ride one out of the showroom today under £4,000, you get a 6-year warranty on them. Service plans from £299. They're really cheap bike to own, and they're a great starter bike for somebody who's just passing the test. Male, female, tall, short, whatever you like. They're really nice and light, really manageable, really easy to ride. So it's inspiration from the sport itself. If you look back in 1970s, early 80s, the Americans, of course, they dominate flat track. Indian, Harley Davidson, proper factory teams spending big money because it's a massive sport over there in the States. And then Honda came along with the RS750 in the twins class for no other reason just than to beat the Americans. And they turned up for 2 years and just absolutely decimated everything, just dominated it and then vanished. And I always quite like that Honda just kind of get into something and like, right, how well can we do it? Not can we do it and win, like how well can we do this? Our completed GB350, the FTR 350, will be available to view at Wheels and Waves 2025 or at hondacustoms.com.